So one thing I've definitely seen from the comments from many of you, and I feel the same way myself, is the fact that Marvel TV is going to be a huge part that many of us miss. Now yes, Marvel Studios is going to have TV shows, but they're going to be completely different than what we had before. So in this video, we'll talk about something many of you requested, and that's why does the MCU need the Defenders and more Marvel TV style shows and characters. So before we get into this, I'm going to take you guys all the way back to a time where Marvel Studios was just becoming this huge thing that everybody around the planet was starting to get aware of what they were. And this is after the release of the Avengers. We started to hear about a Marvel TV show set in that same world, and that turned out to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the success of that show led to the Netflix deal, which everybody at the time raved about because it would take us to little corners of the MCU that are out of the way and separate from those gigantic movies that focus on all the big action and you have no time to breathe. Everybody was excited because Marvel TV was going to tackle these smaller characters that maybe aren't worth the big budget $200-300 million, spending spree, but they were going to take us to corners of New York, for example, or the likes of the Runaways in California, or Cloak and Dagger, and they were going to scale back the size of the MCU and tell us more personal stories on a weekly basis where we could really get to enjoy the characters a little bit more and see a bigger world that exists within this movie world. Now, as time went by, this all fell apart, and we never really got the sense that these TV shows were in the MCU, and we know that's because Kevin Feige doesn't really want to acknowledge it and wants only the stuff he's worked on plus Deadpool to really be a part of this bigger universe. And I think the MCU needs TV shows that are smaller in scale, focusing on lesser characters like this. And I'm not saying lesser as an insult, I'm saying lesser as characters that don't need to be involved with the big bombastic everything must cross over. Like yes, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be a smaller scale show, all things considered. Yes, WandaVision is this separate TV show that's going to tie into everything. Yes, Moon Knight will be as well, same as She-Hulk, but they're different. They're not this corner of the MCU like we thought Daredevil was going to be, where we get to spend like a month or two living with the character during the course of a season and really see how his world is different from what the movie showed us. That was one of the appeals of these TV shows. And Marvel Studios looks like they're still going to go for the bombastic, big Marvel Studios explosion, everything turns into a giant movie at the end, because that's exactly what they told us these TV shows are going to be. And I don't know about you guys, but I for one am going to miss where the final battle of a giant culmination of an entire season is two dudes just standing toe to toe throwing punches at each other till the other one can't stand. Instead, now we're going to have giant world-threatening event that has multiple characters show up from the other franchises. I know it sounds like I'm hating on the MCU right now. I'm really not, but we can't have everything be the same. We need more MCU style content that's like the Defenders, that's like the old Marvel TV shows, because those shows were a little bit more unique than everything we've had in the MCU. I think Daredevil and Punisher certainly were the peak of it.